your man. But the moon's too bright, the chain's too tight, the beast won't go.
I know I'm prejudiced. I worked with David for 30 years. He's the best of the firm. The other lawyers are okay, but they can't top David.
I've never known David to brag about anything. Least of all, his involvement in the community. He just does it.
He was, to me, and still is, the epitome of the gentleman lawyer, the lawyer who can do a lot of different things. But when he does them extremely well, with great intelligence, but overall, above all else, great integrity.
He was honorable in every aspect of any interaction that we had.
When I think of Dad's legal career, the one word that comes up is service. Service to his clients, service to his community, service to the legal profession. And that's something that makes me proud to hopefully try to follow in his footsteps as a lawyer.
David was never one of these that, went to work because it was a good paying job. He went to work because it helped people.
He's an outstanding solicitor, lawyer, but he's a better human being.
I remember my first day of law school at Dalhousie University, and on the first day the dean spoke about the Weldon tradition of unselfish public service. I thought she was describing my dad word for word, and it was only until about 6 years later that I was proven correct when Dad won that prestigious award.
I came here in 1991 to article, and I started with Mac, Mac, and Mac. David was my principal. He may not remember that, but I do. And I remember coming to the old office and meeting Liz and Harry and Bruce and Nick, and David was the last that I met. And what I remember distinctly was the second I walked in his office, I felt welcomed.
It seems to me there's an innate humility in the man that resonates with people and connects with people.
I mean, I've known David before I ever came to work here. And once getting to know David, there's two sides of David. There's this person who writes the plays, who has a wonderful, quirky sense of humor. And then there's the lawyer, the very professional lawyer who, when he does work for a client, they're the only client that he's even thinking about.
As a client, it gives you a sense of comfort and security, knowing that in addition to being intelligent, he's also wise.
He demonstrated throughout all of his work with us that we weren't just a client, that we were an organization that he deeply cared about. So he was a strong advocate for us. And in that sense, I think he provided excellent advice. So it wasn't just legal counsel, it was caring advice to the organization to make sure that we were keeping up with the highest standards that we should be for our community.
David has always had a wonderful ability to say to me, stop and think about this, or have you thought about that, without being critical of what I wanted to do. And many times we ended up doing what I wanted to do, but we just did it in a little more sensible and sort of structured and maybe conservative way.
On almost a weekly basis, I'm reminded by senior lawyers and judges here in Halifax about how highly they think of my father, which obviously means so much to me. But even more important is when I'm home in Pictou County and in a coffee shop or walking down the street or walking down the beach, people come up to me and tell me that, how highly they think of Dad and how much Dad has helped them.
I remember going to court with him a few times, carrying the bag. And I went with all of them, including Bruce and Harry and Liz and Nick. And what always struck me about David was he would do a cross-examination, and the witness would often like him even more at the end of the cross-examination than they did at the beginning, not realizing the damage he had done in the meantime.
In the numbers of interactions I've had with David and his wife Joan, I saw that reflected in his family values as well.
Every day, Dad was home at 5:30 for supper, for family dinner. And now that I'm a lawyer, I know how difficult that can be, but I know that Dad made it a priority and he made it work.
He's a playwright and a poet.
He would write when he was on holiday. Then he'd come back and he'd fine-tune everything. But it wasn't just the plays, and the reason I'm holding up the shoe today is because of the Wizard of Laws. So I did decide to wear my ruby red slippers today, David. And I also wore my shirt because of your quirky sense of humor.
He mixes a great martini.
He has a creative side, he's got a dry sense of humor. And he doesn't show it very often unless you ask him to put on a play. And then he shines. I can't remember all the shows he's put on, but David, do you remember Disc Error 88, 12 Days of Christmas? It was day 5, and we performed it on the steps in your house in Abercrombie Road. Please tell me you remember Disc Error 88, I'll never forget it.
During the year, you never knew that he was really watching, but when it came time for the musical, hey, he didn't miss a trick.
Tell me not to be late, but I just sit and wait. I'd rather concentrate and Bobby Wonder, 'cause I love her.
He has raised the bar so high in terms of what people can contribute to the community.
I'm pretty sure he had no inkling of the impact that that first effort of his would have on the people of Pictou County, on HCRS 4 decades later, to see, you know, it could very well have been just one group home. 4 decades later, it could still be one group home, but something about how the organization was set up and the drive that those people like David had resulted in what we have today.
He made a huge difference over a long period of time, and I wouldn't be able to count the number of young lawyers who've gone through this firm and have had experiences with him that he has taught directly and indirectly how to be a better lawyer. And I'm particularly struck with a better ethical lawyer, a better person as a lawyer, and a more useful lawyer to the client. So from a professional point of view, that's what I think he needs to know. I think he knows it, but he'll be the absolute last person to ever admit it.
I would like to say thank you to David for his dedication and commitment to St. FX, and wish him very well in his graduation from work. And I wish Joan well in now understanding that she's got him full-time.
I think it's important that he remember, or that he know, that people appreciate how much he did to help us.
I never thought this day would come. I never thought Dad was going to retire, and I still won't believe it until I'm at his retirement party. I think Dad is really going to enjoy retirement, and him and my mother are going to have a great time. I think he's going to spend the time with his favorite things, his grandchildren, golf at 7 a.m. in the morning, and doing the New York Times crossword puzzle.
I never once felt that you weren't behind me.
The world needs a lot more David Wallaces in their communities.